The massive crystal battleship floated in the dark space between stars like a glowing mountain of ice and metal. Inside its main chamber, 6 different alien species gathered around a circular table that hummed with strange energy. The room itself was bigger than most human buildings, with walls that seemed to stretch up forever into shadows. Commander Vex stood at the head of the table, his green, scaly skin catching the light from the holographic displays floating above them. His yellow eyes moved from one alien face to another as he prepared to share the most amusing news the Galactic War Council had heard in decades. The reptilian Corvani had been fighting wars across the galaxy for over 1,000 years, and he had never seen anything quite like this. "Fellow commanders," Vex began, his voice carrying the confidence of someone who had conquered dozens of worlds. "Today we discuss the newest species that dares to stand against our coalition." He pressed a button on his wrist of ice, and suddenly the air above the table filled with moving pictures of a small blue and green planet. General Thorne clicked his mandibles together in what might have been laughter. The insectoid Nexery looked like a giant praying mantis wearing armor, his compound eyes reflecting the holographic images in thousands of tiny fragments. "Another primitive world, I assume," he said, his voice buzzing like a swarm of angry bees. "Oh, it is much more entertaining than that," Vex replied, his thin lips pulling back to show rows of sharp teeth. "This species calls themselves humans, and they inhabit a planet they named Earth. Watch this." The holographic display changed to show footage of human military training. Alien scouts had been observing Earth for months, recording everything they could about human combat capabilities. What they saw made the entire council burst into various forms of alien laughter. On the display, human soldiers stumbled through obstacle courses, tripping over walls that any decent alien warrior could leap over without effort. They fired primitive projectile weapons that shot small metal pieces instead of proper energy beams. Most ridiculous of all, they needed to wear heavy armor just to protect their soft, fragile skin. Captain Yar of the aquatic delphins made a sound like water bubbling through rocks, which was how her species expressed amusement. Her blue-green skin glistened under the chamber lights, and the gills on her neck fluttered with each breath. "They cannot even breathe underwater without mechanical assistance," she observed, watching humans struggle with diving equipment. "My people could defeat them simply by flooding their cities." Admiral Crix of the energy-based Luminari pulsed brighter with what seemed to be excitement. The Luminari looked like living lightning contained in a roughly humanoid shape, constantly shifting between different colors. "Their weapons require physical ammunition," Crix said, his voice sounding like electrical storms. "They must carry heavy supplies into battle. How primitive can one species be?" Commander Nix of the silicon-based Rockborn made a grinding sound deep in his massive stone chest. Standing nearly 3 meters tall and looking like a walking mountain, Nix rarely spoke, but when he did, others listened. "Their bones break easily," he rumbled. "Their skin tears. They require constant food and water. Weak." The 6th member of the council, Dr. Beck of the Crystalline Prism Folk, remained silent, but her geometric body flickered through various colors, indicating deep thought. The Prism Folk were known for their analytical minds and careful planning, so her lack of immediate mockery caught Vex's attention. "What troubles you, Dr. Beck?" Vex asked. Beck's crystal form shifted to a pale yellow color. "I am analyzing their tactical patterns," she said, her voice sounding like wind chimes. "While their technology is primitive, their strategies show unusual creativity. They use deception, misdirection, and unpredictable movements that do not follow standard military doctrine." General Thorne waved a clawed hand dismissively. "Creativity means nothing against superior firepower. My ship's weapons could level their largest cities in minutes." "Exactly," Vex agreed, changing the holographic display to show Earth's military installations. "Look at their so-called armies. They march in straight lines like children playing war games. Their vehicles move on wheels instead of hovering above ground. They communicate using radio waves that any first-year cadet could intercept and decode. The display showed human tanks rolling across training grounds, leaving obvious tracks in the dirt. It showed human aircraft that required runways to take off, unlike alien ships that could appear anywhere instantly. Most amusing of all, it showed human soldiers who needed to sleep for 8 hours every day. making them vulnerable for one-third of their lives. Captain Yara studied the images of human naval forces. Their ships float on water instead of flying above it. A single storm could sink their entire fleet. And look at this, Vex said, highlighting footage of human medical facilities. When they get injured, they require extensive healing time. They cannot regenerate lost limbs like Crix's people or shed damaged skin like mine. Once broken, they often stay broken. Admiral Crix pulsed red with what the others recognized as aggressive excitement. Their cities have no energy shields. Their borders are marked with simple barriers that a child could cross. They seem to have no understanding of proper planetary defense. The Council continued reviewing the intelligence reports for another hour, each revelation more amusing than the last. Humans needed vehicles to travel quickly because they could only run short distances before becoming exhausted. They required tools for almost everything because their hands were too weak to break or bend most materials. They built their homes from organic materials that could burn, flood, or collapse. The funniest part, Vex said, saving the best for last, is that they seem to think they can actually fight us. Our scouts intercepted communications from their military leaders discussing defense strategies and tactical advantages. They believe they have something we lack. Dr. Beck's crystalline body flickered through several colors rapidly, a sign of intense calculation. What do they believe gives them an advantage? Vex's grin grew wider. They mentioned something called secret weapons and special forces that they claim will surprise us. They also refer repeatedly to something called K-9 units that they consider crucial to their military success. This brought fresh waves of alien laughter. The idea that such a primitive species could possess anything resembling secret weapons seemed impossible. Their technology was centuries behind even the oldest alien civilizations represented at the table. K-9 units, General Thorne repeated, his mandibles clicking rapidly. Probably some outdated military designation for obsolete equipment. Perhaps vehicles or weapons they no longer use but keep threatening enemies with. Or maybe, Captain Yara suggested, it refers to their primitive aircraft. The K could stand for some type of flying machine. Admiral Crix pulsed blue with amusement. Whatever these K-9 units are, they cannot be more advanced than throwing rocks at their enemies. Vex nodded agreement and activated the communication array. It is time to end this comedy. We shall offer them the standard ultimatum, though I suspect they will surrender immediately once they realize what they face. The message was composed quickly and transmitted toward Earth using technology that could cross interstellar distances in hours. The Coalition's ultimatum was simple and direct. Surrender unconditionally and accept alien rule, or face complete annihilation. They gave Earth's government 72 hours to respond. How long do you think before they beg for mercy? General Thorne asked. I give them 6 hours, Captain Yara replied. Once they analyze our ship capabilities, they will realize resistance is futile. For hours, Admiral Crix predicted, their primitive sensors will detect our energy signatures and calculate the impossibility of victory. Commander Nix made his grinding sound again. 1 hour. Fear will override stupidity. But Dr. Beck remained silent, her crystal body cycling through colors too quickly for the others to interpret. Something about the human data bothered her, though she could not identify exactly what. They did not have to wait long for Earth's response. Within 6 hours, a transmission arrived from the planet's surface. The Alien Council gathered eagerly to hear humanity surrender. Instead, they heard something that left them confused and slightly annoyed. Message received and understood. The human voice said what sounded like grim determination. We reject your ultimatum completely. Earth will never surrender the foreign invaders. We accept your challenge. Deployment begins in 72 hours. You will learn why we have survived every threat our planet has thrown at us for millions of years. Come if you dare. The transmission ended, leaving the Alien Council sitting in stunned silence. They rejected our ultimatum, General Thorne said slowly, as if he could not quite believe it. Impossible, Captain Yara muttered. They must not understand the situation. Perhaps their translation equipment malfunctioned, Admiral Crix suggested. But Vex was already pulling up tactical displays, his amusement fading into professional irritation. No malfunction. They understand perfectly, and they still refuse to surrender. Very well. If they wish to learn about superior alien technology the hard way, we shall teach them. Dr. Beck finally spoke, her voice carrying a note of uncertainty that surprised the others. There is something about their response pattern that does not match typical pre-defeat behavior. Most species either surrender immediately or respond with desperate threats. This response suggests confidence. Confidence based on ignorance, Vex replied firmly. They simply do not understand what they face. After we destroy their first line of defense, they will quickly change their attitude. The War Council began planning their attack on Earth. Confident that victory would come quickly and easily, they allocated only a small portion of their total fleet, expecting to overwhelm human forces within days. None of them noticed that Dr. Beck continued cycling through colors long after the meeting ended, her analytical mind working on a problem she could not yet define. 3 days after Earth's defiant response, the alien coalition fleet approached the moon with overwhelming confidence. Commander Vex stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the tactical displays show dozens of alien vessels moving into position around Earth's only natural satellite. The plan was simple and brutal. Destroy any human resistance near the moon, then move on Earth itself for the final conquest. Human fleet detected, reported Lieutenant Zara from her position at the sensor station. The young Corvani officer's scales rippled with excitement as she tracked the approaching human ships. 37 vessels moving to intercept us. General Thorne, who had joined Vex aboard the flagship to witness humanity's defeat firsthand, clicked his mandibles in amusement. 37 ships against our fleet of 200? They must be even more foolish than we thought. Captain Reed of the Earth Defense Force watched the approaching alien armada from a bridge of his command ship, the EGF Defiance. The human fleet looked tiny compared to the massive alien vessels, but Reed had not survived 20 years of military service by giving up when odds looked bad. His weathered face showed no fear as he studied the tactical displays, calculating distances and approach vectors. All ships, this is Reed. He spoke into his communications device. Remember, we are not here to win this battle. We are here to learn what these aliens can do and make them work for their victory. Every second we survive gives Earth more time to prepare. The first exchange of fire came when the two fleets were still thousands of kilometers apart. Alien energy weapons lit up the darkness of space with brilliant beams of blue and green light that struck human ships with devastating effect. The primitive human armor plating melted under the intense heat, and several ships were destroyed in the opening minutes. But Reed had not planned to fight a traditional space battle. Instead of arranging his ships in the neat formations that military academies taught, he scattered them throughout the asteroid field that surrounded the moon's far side. When alien ships moved in to finish off damaged human vessels, they found themselves navigating through chunks of rock and ice that interfered with their sensors. What are they doing? General Thorne demanded as he watched human ships dart between asteroids like fish swimming through coral reefs. This is not proper military tactics. Vex studied the displays with growing irritation. The humans were using the asteroid field in ways that alien tactical computers had not predicted. They flew their ships through gaps that seemed too narrow for safe passage, used gravitational effects from larger asteroids to change direction without using their engines, and even deliberately crashed damaged ships into asteroids to create new obstacles. They are fighting like animals, Vex muttered. No honor, no proper strategy, just desperate survival instincts. But the desperate tactics were working better than anyone expected. When Admiral Crix's energy-based ships tried to follow human vessels into the asteroid field, they discovered that their energy forms were affected by the magnetic fields generated by metal-rich rocks. Captain Yar's aquatic-adapted Delphians found that their water-breathing physiology made them poorly suited for the dry environment of space combat. Reed's flagship took hit after hit from alien weapons, but somehow kept fighting. The bridge filled with smoke and sparks as systems overloaded, but Reed continued issuing orders even as his ship fell apart around him. When his weapon systems failed, he used his ship's remaining thrusters to ram an alien vessel, causing both ships to explode in a brilliant flash of light. The battle lasted 6 hours instead of the 30 minutes the aliens had predicted. When the last human ship finally went silent, the alien fleet had lost 12 vessels and suffered damage to dozens more. It was still an overwhelming alien victory, but not the easy conquest they had expected. Prepare boarding parties, Vex ordered as his fleet moved toward the disabled human ships floating among the asteroids. We need prisoners for interrogation and salvage teams to study their technology. Commander Nix led the first boarding party onto a damaged human cruiser. The massive rock-born warrior had to duck through doorways designed for much smaller beings, his stone-like body scraping against metal walls as he moved through the ship's corridors. Behind him came a mixed team of alien soldiers, all eager to see what secrets human technology might reveal. What they found confused them more than anything they had expected. The human ship's interior was cramped and inefficient compared to alien designs, with narrow corridors and low ceilings that made movement difficult for most alien species. The technology was indeed primitive, using mechanical switches and physical controls instead of thought-activated interfaces. But something else bothered the boarding parties, something they could not quite identify. The humans fought beyond all logical limits, reported Captain Yara as her team searched through the wreckage of another human vessel. We found evidence that they continued operating weapons manually even after their computer systems failed. Some of them kept fighting with handheld weapons even when their ship was losing atmosphere. Dr. Beck's analytical mind processed this information with growing unease. Her crystalline body flickered through colors as she studied the reports from all boarding parties. This behavior pattern does not match any known species database. Most intelligent beings surrender when defeat becomes inevitable. These humans continued fighting even when survival was impossible. General Thorne dismissed these concerns with a wave of his clawed hand. Fear makes creatures do stupid things. They probably panicked and lost the ability to think clearly, but the evidence suggested something different. In one human ship, alien investigators found a section where human crew members had triggered a self-destruct sequence rather than allow their vessel to be captured intact. The explosion had been prevented only because the ship's power systems had already failed, but the intent was clear. They were willing to destroy themselves rather than be taken prisoner. Vex said slowly as he reviewed the boarding reports. This level of fanaticism is unusual. Admiral Crix's energy form pulsed red with confusion. Why would they choose death over capture? Most species understand that survival allows future opportunities for resistance or escape. Perhaps, Dr. Beck suggested, her voice carrying a note of concern that made the others look at her more carefully. We are dealing with a species that values concepts we do not understand. Honor, perhaps, or loyalty to their group over individual survival. The interrogation of captured human prisoners provided more questions than answers. The humans refused to cooperate, even when threatened with pain or death. They would not reveal military secrets, true positions, or strategic plans. Most disturbing of all, they seemed genuinely confident that Earth would ultimately defeat the alien invasion. "You do not understand what you are fighting," said one captured human officer when brought before Commander Vex. The human's uniform was torn and burned, his face bruised from the battle, but his eyes showed no fear. "You think this is about technology and firepower, but you are wrong." Vex leaned forward, his yellow eyes studying the human carefully. "Then enlighten me, primitive creature. What is this conflict about if not superior force?" The human smiled, an expression that seemed strange on such a battered face. "It is about something your species has never learned. You will understand when our second wave arrives." "Your second wave?" General Thorne's mandibles clicked with amusement. "You just lost your entire fleet. What could you possibly send against us now?" "RK-9 units," the human replied simply. "They are already on their way, and when they arrive, you will learn why Earth has never been conquered by any enemy." The aliens exchanged glances of confusion and irritation. They had captured dozens of human prisoners, but every single one mentioned these mysterious K-9 units as if they were some kind of ultimate weapon. Intelligence reports from captured human ships contain multiple references to K-9 deployment schedules, K-9 tactical integration, and K-9 combat effectiveness ratings. "What are these K-9 units?" Vex demanded. "Some kind of advanced weapon system? New ships we had not detected?" But the human prisoner just smiled again and refused to say anything more. Dr. Beck spent hours analyzing the captured human technology and communications equipment, searching for any reference to K-9 capabilities. What she found made no sense according to any known military classification system. The K-9 units seemed to require special food supplies, medical care, and something called exercise periods. Most puzzling of all, human communications about K-9 units included emotional language that suggested personal attachment rather than professional military relationships. They referred individual K-9 units by name. Beck reported to the War Council. Rex, Max, Duke, Bear Shadow. This suggests either a very small elite force or a classification system we do not understand. Captain Yara studied the intercepted communications with growing confusion. They also mentioned K-9 units requiring training treats and belly rubs. What kind of military equipment needs belly rubs? Perhaps it is some kind of biological weapon. Admiral Crick suggested. Living creatures that require care and feeding. Commander Nix made his grinding sound of disagreement. No biological weapon would need playtime and walks in the park. The humans must be using code words to hide their true capabilities. Vex was beginning to lose patience with the entire mystery. Whatever these K-9 units are, they cannot be more effective than the fleet we just destroyed. Human technology is centuries behind ours. Even their most advanced weapons are primitive compared to our basic equipment. But Dr. Beck continued to cycle through colors of uncertainty as she processed more captured data. The human confidence seemed based on something more than ignorance or desperation. Every prisoner, every communication, every tactical reference suggested that the humans genuinely believed their K-9 units would change the nature of the conflict. "Commander," reported Lieutenant Zara from her sensor station, "long-range scanners are detecting another human fleet approaching our position. They will arrive in approximately 18 hours. Vex nodded with satisfaction. "Excellent. We will destroy the second wave even more quickly than the first. Prepare the fleet for another easy victory." But as the alien ships moved into position for the next battle, none of them noticed the unusual readings coming from the approaching human vessels. Mixed in with the familiar signatures of human life forms were thousands of smaller, four-legged creatures with rapid heartbeats and heightened neural activity. The K-9 units were finally coming to war. The second wave of human ships appeared on alien sensors like ghosts emerging from the darkness of deep space. Commander Vex stood before the tactical displays on his flagship, studying the approaching fleet with a mixture of confidence and curiosity. The humans were returning for another battle they could not possibly win, but something about their approach patterns seemed different this time. "Sensor analysis complete," reported Lieutenant Zara, her scale fingers dancing across a control panel. 42 human vessels approaching at standard velocity. "But, Commander, there is something unusual about the biosignatures aboard those ships." General Thorne moved closer to examine the readings, his compound eyes reflecting the blue glow of the displays. "Unusual how? Are they carrying some kind of biological weapon?" Zara's scales rippled with confusion as she rechecked her instruments. The human life signs are normal, but there are thousands of additional life forms aboard their vessels. Smaller creatures, approximately one-fourth the size of humans, with four-legged locomotion patterns and accelerated heart rates. Dr. Beck's crystalline body immediately began cycling through rapid color changes as her analytical mind processed this new information. Four-legged creatures with rapid heartbeats suggest either pack animals or some form of domesticated livestock. Perhaps the humans are carrying food supplies for an extended campaign. Captain Yara's gills fluttered with what might have been amusement. They are so primitive they still need to transport live animals for sustenance. My people evolved beyond such crude practices millennia ago. But Admiral Crix's energy form pulsed with a different color, indicating deeper thought. The neural activity patterns of these creatures are highly elevated. This suggests intelligence levels beyond simple livestock. They might be some form of alien ally that humans have recruited. Commander Vex studied the sensor readings more carefully, his yellow eyes narrowing as he tried to understand what he was seeing. The smaller life forms showed brain activity patterns that were definitely not typical of food animals. Their neural signatures suggested alertness, training, and what could only be described as excitement. Whatever these creatures are, Vex decided, they cannot change the outcome of this battle. Human technology is still centuries behind ours, regardless of what allies they bring. All ships, prepare for engagement. The second battle began much like the first, with alien energy weapons lighting up space as they struck human vessels. But this time, the humans seemed better prepared for the alien attack patterns. Their ships moved with more coordination, their defensive formations showed improved tactical thinking, and their return fire was more accurate than before. They learned from previous engagement. General Thorne observed as he watched human ships dodge alien beam weapons with practiced efficiency. Their survival time has increased by approximately 30%. Captain Reed's replacement, Commander Hayes, led the human fleet from the bridge of the Edea Valiant. The middle-aged officer has studied every detail of the previous battle, analyzing alien tactics and developing countermeasures that might buy Earth more precious time. His weathered hands gripped the command chair as explosions lit up the space around his ship. All vessels, execute pattern Delta 7. Hayes ordered into his communications device. Remember, we are not here to win. We are here to learn and survive as long as possible. The human ships scattered into smaller groups, each one heading toward different parts of the lunar surface. Instead of trying to fight the alien fleet in open space, they were attempting to use the moon's gravity and terrain as defensive advantages. But the aliens had learned from the previous battle as well. This time, they did not allow human ships to disappear into asteroid fields or use gravitational tricks to escape. Alien vessels surrounded each human group, overwhelming them with concentrated firepower. The space battle lasted 4 hours before the last human ship fell silent. Once again, it was a complete alien victory, but the humans had performed better than expected. More importantly for the aliens, they had captured several human vessels that were only lightly damaged. Prepare boarding parties immediately, Commander Vex ordered. I want those ships searched thoroughly, and I especially want to know about these mysterious four-legged creatures. Commander Nix led the first boarding team onto a captured human transport vessel. The massive rock-born warrior moved carefully through the ship's corridors, his stone-like body making grinding sounds against the metal walls. Behind him came a mixed group of alien soldiers, all curious about what they might find. The ship's cargo holds contained exactly what the sensors had indicated. Hundreds of small, four-legged creatures that the aliens had never seen before. The animals were roughly the size of a human child, covered in fur of various colors, with pointed ears and long tails. Most surprising of all, they did not seem afraid of the alien boarding party. "What are these things?" asked Captain Yara as her team secured another cargo hold filled with similar creatures. They showed no fear response despite being confronted by obviously superior predators. The four-legged animals approached the aliens with what seemed like curiosity rather than terror. Some of them wagged their tails. Others tilted their heads to one side as if trying to understand what they were seeing. A few even attempted to approach the alien soldiers, only to be held back by energy barriers. Dr. Beck examined one of the creatures through her scanning equipment, her crystalline body flickering through colors of intense analysis. Remarkable. These animals show signs of advanced training and conditioning. Their brain patterns indicate high intelligence for non-sentient creatures, plus emotional attachments that suggest bonding with other species. General Thorne clicked his mandibles impatiently. Bonding with what other species? Are these some kind of symbiotic organisms? With humans, Beck replied, her voice carrying a note of surprise. The neural patterns show clear evidence of cross-species emotional attachment. These creatures are not just allies of humans. They're integrated into human social structures. The aliens found evidence of this integration throughout the captured ships. Special sleeping areas have been set up for the four-legged creatures, complete with soft bedding and toys. The ship's food storage included. Supplies specifically designed for non-human digestive systems. Most puzzling of all, the creatures wore small pieces of armor and equipment that seemed designed for combat operations. Combat equipment? Admiral Crix pulsed with confusion. How could such small creatures be useful in battle? The answer came when alien forces attempted to secure the human lunar installations. The humans had established several small bases on the moon's surface, using them as staging areas for their fleet operations. With the human ships destroyed, these bases should have been easy targets for alien ground forces. Captain Yara led the assault on the largest human base, confident that her aquatic-adapted soldiers could handle whatever primitive defenses the humans had prepared. The base itself looked simple enough, a collection of pressurized domes connected by tunnels, surrounded by basic defensive walls that any modern weapon could breach. "Begin the attack," Yara ordered, and her troops advanced across the lunar surface toward a human installation. The first sign that something was wrong came when the human defenders seemed to know exactly where the alien soldiers were. Even though Yara's forces were using advanced camouflage technology that should have made them invisible to primitive human sensors. "How are they targeting us so accurately?" demanded Lieutenant Koss as alien soldiers found themselves under precise human fire despite their supposedly perfect concealment. The answer became clear when Yara's forces breached the outer defensive wall and entered the base complex. Running alongside the human defenders were dozens of the same four-legged creatures they had found on the captured ships. But these animals were not cowering in fear or hiding from a battle. They were actively participating in the combat. The small creatures moved with incredible speed across the lunar surface, their four legs giving them stability and agility that bipedal beings could not match. They wore specially designed armor that protected them from the vacuum of space while allowing full freedom of movement. Most remarkably, they seemed to anticipate human tactical needs without requiring verbal commands. "Impossible!" Yara breathed as she watched a human soldier and one of the four-legged creatures coordinate a flanking maneuver against her troops. They're operating as integrated units. The creature's capabilities went far beyond what any alien tactical computer had predicted. They could detect alien soldiers through camouflage by using senses that human technology could not replicate. When alien forces tried to set up ambushes, the animals somehow knew they were there and guided human soldiers around the danger areas. "Commander Yara," reported Sergeant Voss on the front lines, "these creatures are tracking our movements through our electromagnetic signatures. Our cloaking technology is useless against them." Even more disturbing was the way the animals and humans communicated. They did not use radio transmissions or hand signals that alien intelligence could intercept and decode. Instead, they seemed to understand each other through subtle body language and emotional cues that created a communication system no alien species could penetrate. Dr. Beck monitored the battle reports from the alien fleet, her analytical mind struggling to process what she was observing. "The creatures are not just allies," she announced to the War Council. "They are true partners. The humans and these animals have developed a symbiotic relationship that creates tactical advantages neither species could achieve alone." Commander Vex watched the tactical displays with growing frustration as his ground forces struggled against opponents they should have defeated easily. What kind of tactical advantages could such primitive creatures provide? "Enhanced sensory capabilities," Beck replied, her colors cycling rapidly as she processed data. "Improved movement speed and agility. Redundant communication systems that cannot be intercepted. Most importantly, a level of coordination that suggests these species have been working together for thousands of years." The battle for the lunar base lasted 12 hours instead of the 2 hours that alien planners had predicted. When Yara's forces finally secured the installation, they had lost 30% of their troops to defenders who should have been completely outmatched. "How is this possible?" General Thorne demanded as he reviewed the casualty reports. "We have the best weapons, the best armor, the best technology in the galaxy. How are we losing soldiers to humans with primitive equipment?" Captain Yar's response came through gritted teeth as she surveyed the captured base. "Because they are not fighting as humans alone. They are fighting as something we have never encountered before. A true partnership between two different species that trust each other completely." The aliens found more evidence of this partnership throughout the human base. Sleeping quarters were designed to accommodate both humans and the four-legged creatures. Training facilities showed obstacle courses that required cooperation between species to complete. Most revealing of all, they found recorded messages from human soldiers addressing the animals by individual names and treating them as valued team members rather than disposable tools. Commander Vex studied one particular recording that had been left behind by the human base commander. In it, A human officer spoke directly to one of the four-legged creatures, saying words that chilled the alien leadership to their cores. "Good boy, Rex. Now show them what Earth dogs can really do." The word dogs appeared in alien databases, but only as a brief entry describing a domesticated Earth animal used for simple tasks like hunting and protection. The idea that such creatures could be effective military partners had never occurred to any alien strategic planner. Dogs. Dr. Beck repeated slowly, her crystalline form flickering through colors of revelation. Not enslaved aliens, not biological weapons, not primitive technology. Domesticated Earth animals that have formed evolutionary partnerships with humans over thousands of years. The implications of this discovery sent shockwaves through the alien command structure. They were not fighting one species with primitive technology. They were fighting a coalition of two species that had learned to work together. So effectively, they functioned as a single military unit. Admiral Crix's energy form pulsed with what could only be described as concern. If humans have formed such partnerships with one species, what other Earth creatures might be involved in their military capabilities? The question hung in the air like a threat as the alien fleet. Dr. Beck's crystalline form had not stopped cycling through colors for 3 days since the discovery that humans fought alongside creatures called dogs. Her analytical mind worked constantly, processing data that challenged everything the Galactic Coalition thought they knew about warfare, intelligence, and evolution itself. The War Council gathered once again aboard Commander Vex's flagship, but the atmosphere had changed dramatically from their first meeting. The easy confidence and mocking laughter were gone, replaced by confusion and growing concern. What had started as an amusing conquest of a primitive species had become something none of them understood. "Explain to me again," General Thorne said, his mandibles clicking with agitation, "how creatures the size of human children can be effective military assets." Dr. Beck's body shifted to a deep blue color that indicated intense concentration. The relationship between humans and dogs represents something our species have never encountered. True evolutionary partnership. These are not enslaved creatures or trained animals in the way we understand such concepts. They are willing partners who have developed alongside humans for thousands of years. Captain Yara's gills fluttered with skepticism. Partnership implies equality. These dogs are clearly inferior to humans in size, strength, and intelligence. How can they be equal partners? Because partnership is not about equality of capabilities, Beck replied, her colors shifting to yellow as she accessed her vast database of behavioral analysis. It is about complementary abilities that create advantages neither species could achieve alone. Dogs possess sensory capabilities that far exceed human limitations. Their hearing can detect sounds across frequency ranges humans cannot perceive. Their sense of smell is thousands of times more sensitive than human olfactory systems. Admiral Crix pulsed red with frustrated confusion. Enhanced senses are useful for hunting prey, but how does this translate to military effectiveness against technologically superior forces? The answer came in the form of intelligence reports from the lunar base assault. Alien soldiers equipped with the most advanced camouflage technology had been detected and tracked by dogs using nothing more than scent trails and acoustic signatures. Stealth systems that rendered alien forces invisible to electronic sensors were useless against biological detection methods that had evolved over millions of years. Our technology masks us from artificial sensors, Beck explained, but it cannot eliminate the basic chemical and physical traces that all living beings leave behind. Dogs can track these traces through methods our science barely understands. Commander Nix made his grinding sound of displeasure. You are telling us that primitive biological systems are superior to our advanced technology? Not superior, Beck corrected, her form shifting to orange. Different. We have focused our evolution and technology on capabilities we understand. Energy manipulation, electronic systems, logical analysis. But dogs and humans have developed abilities that follow completely different principles. The implications became clear as more reports arrived from alien reconnaissance teams attempting to infiltrate other human installations throughout the solar system. Every mission ended the same way. Dogs detected the alien presence long before human technology could, alerting their human partners to threats they never would have noticed on their own. Commander Vex studied footage from a failed infiltration of a human base on Mars. His elite special forces team, equipped with technology that could fool any known detection system, had been systematically hunted down by teams of humans and dogs working together. The coordination between the two species was unlike anything in alien military databases. "Watch this sequence," Vex said, replaying the tactical footage for Council. The human soldier never gives verbal commands to the dog, yet they execute complex maneuvers with perfect timing. The dog anticipates what the human needs before the human realizes it himself. The footage showed a human soldier moving through a corridor while his dog partner scouted ahead. When the dog detected alien infiltrators around a corner, it communicated this information to the human through subtle body language, ear position, tail movement, changes in posture that convey detailed tactical information without making any sound. They have developed a communication system that transcends language, Dr. Beck observed, her analytical processes reaching conclusions that disturbed her. Dogs can read human emotional states through biochemical signals we cannot detect. Humans can interpret dog behavioral patterns with accuracy that suggests telepathic connection. General Thorne's compound eyes focused on Beck with sharp attention. "Are you suggesting these species can read each other's minds?" "Not mind reading in the way we understand it," Beck replied carefully. "But after thousands of years of coevolution, they have developed communication methods that are far more sophisticated than simple training or commands. They function as integrated units because they understand each other at levels that transcend conscious thought." The evidence supporting this conclusion came from captured human communications equipment. Alien cryptographers had expected to find complex digital encryption protecting human military communications. Instead, they discovered that the most sensitive tactical information was transmitted through direct interaction between humans and dogs, using biological signals that no electronic system could intercept or decode. Captain Yara reviewed intercepted human transmissions with growing amazement. Their most secure communications are not electronic at all. A human commander can transmit complex tactical information to units across a battlefield simply by working with a single dog that then carries that information to other human dog teams. "Living communication networks," Admiral Crick said, his energy form pulsing through colors of reluctant admiration. "No electronic warfare can disrupt them because they are not electronic." But the most disturbing revelation came when Dr. Beck completed her analysis of dog behavioral patterns during combat operations. The animals were not simply following human commands or performing trained responses. They were making independent tactical decisions and adapting to changing battlefield conditions with creativity that suggested genuine intelligence. "Dogs are not just tools or weapons," Beck announced to the stunned council. "They are thinking, planning, adapting warriors who choose to fight alongside humans. This relationship is based on mutual loyalty rather than dominance or control." Commander Vex struggled to process this information through a military mindset that had never encountered voluntary cooperation between different species. "Loyalty? You mean they fight because they want to, not because they're forced to?" "Exactly," Beck confirmed. "And this creates tactical advantages that we cannot counter through conventional means. A soldier who fights because he is ordered to a retreat when defeat becomes inevitable. A soldier who fights because he chooses to continue fighting even when survival is impossible." The Council had already seen evidence of this during their battles with human forces. Human soldiers fought beyond all logical limits, continuing to resist even when their situation was hopeless. Now, they understood that dogs displayed the same behavior, not because they were trained to do so, but because they genuinely care about protecting their human partners. "They sacrifice themselves for each other," General Thorne said slowly, as if the concept was difficult for his logical mind to accept. "More than that," Beck replied. "They fight more effectively together than either species could fight alone. Human intelligence combined with dog sensory capabilities and physical agility creates tactical possibilities that our strategic computers cannot predict or counter." The truth of this became apparent when the aliens attempted their third major assault, this time targeting a human research station on one of Jupiter's moons. The attack was planned with mathematical precision, using overwhelming force and advanced technology to ensure quick victory. Instead, alien forces found themselves facing opponents who seemed to know their every move before they made it. Dogs detected alien approach routes hours in advance. giving human defenders time to prepare elaborate countermeasures. When alien forces tried to change their tactics mid-battle, human dog teams adapted instantly, responding to new threats with coordination that seemed impossible. Colonel Martinez commanded the human defense of the Jupiter station from a bunker deep within the facility. Beside him sat his dog partner Duke, a large German shepherd whose alert eyes never stopped scanning their surroundings. The human officer studied tactical displays, while the dog monitored scents and sounds that no electronic sensor could detect. Duke's picking up movement in Sector 7. Martinez reported to his communications officer. Unknown number of hostiles approaching through the maintenance tunnels. The communications officer, who had worked with Martinez and Duke for 3 years, did not question how the colonel knew this information. He simply relayed the warning to defensive teams in that area, who repositioned themselves to counter the alien infiltration attempt. When alien forces emerged from the maintenance tunnels expecting to surprise the human defenders, they instead found themselves walking into carefully prepared ambushes. The coordination between human tactical planning and dog sensory detection had created a defensive system that alien strategic computers could not penetrate or predict. How do they do it? Demanded Captain Yara as she watched yet another alien assault fail against impossible odds. Our forces are superior in every measurable category, yet we cannot achieve tactical surprise against opponents who should be blind and deaf compared to us. Dr. Beck's analysis provided the answer that none of them wanted to hear. We are superior in categories that we understand and measure, but humans and dogs operate using principles that our science has never encountered. They have capabilities that our technology cannot replicate and strategies that our logic cannot predict. The failed assault on the Jupiter station cost the alien coalition 40% of their ground forces and damaged their confidence even more severely. For the first time since beginning their conquest of Earth, alien commanders began to question whether victory was possible against such opponents. We are fighting ghosts, General Thorne reported to the War Council after reviewing casualty reports. Every time we think we understand their capabilities, they demonstrate new ones. Every time we develop countermeasures, they adapt faster than our strategic computers can calculate. Admiral Crix's energy form pulsed through dark colors that indicated deep concern. Perhaps we should reconsider our approach to this conflict. These humans and their animal partners represent something our military doctrine was not designed to handle. But Commander Vex refused to accept that alien superiority could be challenged by primitive Earth creatures. We will adapt our tactics as well. If they can work with animals, we can develop countermeasures. No species partnership can overcome technological advantage indefinitely. Dr. Beck's crystalline body flickered through rapid color changes as she processed new intelligence reports from across the solar system. What she discovered made her analytical processes freeze with something approaching fear. "Commander," she said quietly, "there is something else we need to discuss. Dogs are not the only Earth species that humans have formed partnerships with." The War Council turned toward her with expressions of dread as Beck displayed new sensor readings from approaching human fleets. Mixing with human and dog life signs were the biological signatures of dozens of other Earth species. Horses, dolphins, birds, and creatures that alien databases had never cataloged. They are bringing an entire planet's worth of allied species to war against us, Beck announced. We are not fighting humans with dogs. We are fighting Earth itself. The final human fleet appeared on alien sensors like an approaching storm of impossible complexity. Commander Vex stood frozen before the tactical displays, watching readings that challenged everything he thought he knew about warfare and evolution. What approached was not just a fleet of human ships, but something that defied classification in any known military database. "Sensor analysis complete," Lieutenant Czar reported, her voice trembling with confusion. 200 human vessels approaching. "But, Commander, the biological readings make no sense. We're detecting humans, dogs, horses, dolphins, multiple bird species, and dozens of life forms that do not match any known classifications." Dr. Beck's crystalline form cycled through colors so rapidly that the other council members could barely track the changes. Her analytical mind was processing data that seemed to contradict the basic principles of interspecies warfare. They had brought representatives from across their entire planetary ecosystem, she announced. "This is not a military fleet. This is a migration of allied species." General Thorne's mandibles clicked with nervous energy as he studied the approaching formations. How is it possible for so many different species to coordinate space travel? Most planets barely achieve single-species unity, yet these humans have somehow organized dozens of different life forms for combat operations. The answer became clear as a human fleet moved into position around Earth. Each vessel was designed not just for human crews, but for multiple species working together. Ships contained specialized environments for aquatic creatures, open-air sections for flying animals, and cargo areas specifically modified for four-legged mammals. Captain Cole of the EDF Triumph commanded the human flagship from a bridge designed for cooperation between species. Beside him stood his combat partner Max, a German shepherd whose alert eyes constantly scanned for threats. Behind them, a dolphin named Echo worked from a water-filled communication station, using sonar capabilities to detect alien movements through space debris. Above them, a trained falcon named Arrow perched on specialized equipment, ready to coordinate with aerial reconnaissance systems. "All ships, this is Cole," the human commander spoke into his communications device. "Remember, we are not here to win through superior technology. We are here to show these aliens what Earth is really capable of when all species work together." The alien coalition had assembled their most powerful fleet for this final confrontation. Every advanced weapon, every sophisticated technology, every strategic advantage they possessed was focused on overwhelming the approaching human forces. Commander Vex was confident that sheer firepower would finally end this frustrating conflict. "Begin the assault," Vex ordered, and space erupted with energy beams and projectile weapons as the alien fleet opened fire on the approaching humans. But what happened next shattered every assumption the aliens had made about combat effectiveness and tactical coordination. The human ships did not respond with the primitive projectile weapons the aliens expected. Instead, they unleashed a coordinated assault that utilized capabilities no alien strategic computer had anticipated. Dolphins aboard human vessels used their sonar abilities to map the interior structure of alien ships, providing targeting data for weapons that struck critical systems with impossible accuracy. Birds of prey equipped with miniature cameras and sensors swarmed around alien vessels, providing real-time intelligence about enemy movements and weak points. Most devastating of all, horses aboard human cavalry ships provided rapid response capabilities that allowed human forces to adapt to changing battle conditions faster than alien tactical computers could calculate countermeasures. "Impossible!" General Thorne muttered as he watched alien formations being dismantled by opponents who seemed to anticipate every tactical decision. How are they coordinating so many different species in the chaos of space combat? Dr. Beck provided the answer that none of them wanted to hear. They are not coordinating different species. They are functioning as a single planetary organism with specialized capabilities distributed across multiple life forms. Each species contributes what it does best while supporting the others in areas where they are weak. The evidence was overwhelming as the battle continued. Human intelligence identified targets and developed strategies. Dogs detected threats that electronic sensors missed. Dolphins provided acoustic mapping and communication systems. Birds offered aerial reconnaissance and rapid message delivery. Horses enabled quick tactical responses and mobile command platforms. Together, they created a military system that was greater than the sum of its parts. Captain Yara found herself commanding alien forces against opponents who seemed to know her next move before she made it. "They are responding to our tactical changes instantly," she reported to the fleet command. "As soon as we modify our attack patterns, they adapt their defenses. It is as if they can read our strategic intentions." The truth was even more disturbing than Yara realized. The Human-Animal Partnership Network functioned as a biological intelligence system that processed information and adapted to threats in ways that electronic systems could not match. Dogs detected emotional stress patterns in alien communications. Dolphins analyzed acoustic signatures to predict alien movement patterns. Birds provided visual intelligence from angles that alien forces never considered. Admiral Crix's energy form pulsed through dark colors of growing desperation as his ships suffered damage from attacks that seemed to come from impossible directions. They are using capabilities that our science cannot measure or counter. How do we fight opponents whose abilities exist outside our understanding of physics and tactics? The answer came when alien boarding parties attempted to capture human vessels for detailed analysis. Commander Nix led a massive assault force onto a human cargo ship, expecting to find the primitive technology and confused offenders that alien intelligence predicted. Instead, his troops found themselves facing a coordinated defense that utilized every Earth species aboard the vessel. Dogs detected alien infiltration routes through scent tracking. Horses provided rapid transportation for human defenders through the ship's corridors. Dolphins used sonar to map alien positions through the ship's hull. Birds carried messages between human defensive positions faster than any electronic communication system. We are not fighting individual species, Nix reported, as his forces struggled against opponents who seemed to be everywhere at once. We are fighting a unified ecosystem that treats our invasion as a threat to their entire planetary community. The breakthrough moment came when Lieutenant Cole and his dog Max infiltrated the alien flagship through a damaged cargo bay. Working together, they navigated through alien security systems that no single species could have overcome alone. Max detected alien guards through scent, while Cole provided tactical intelligence and technical skills. Their mission was not to capture the ship, but to deliver a message directly to the alien command structure. When they reached the main bridge, Cole stood before the shocked alien leaders with Max at his side, representing everything the aliens had failed to understand about Earth's true strength. "You wanted to know about our capabilities," Cole said calmly as alien weapons trained on him from every direction. "You assumed that superior technology and firepower would guarantee victory. But you never understood what makes Earth different from every other planet you have conquered." Commander Vex studied the human soldier and his animal companion with a mixture of anger and confusion. "What makes you different? You are primitive creatures with obsolete weapons and fragile bodies. What could you possibly possess that superior alien technology cannot overcome?" Cole reached down to rest his hand on Max's head, a gesture that demonstrated the bond between human and dog that confused alien observers since the conflict began. "We possess something your species never learned. We know that survival is not about being the strongest or most advanced. Survival is about working together. Working together is a basic military concept," General Thorne protested. "All species understand cooperation within their own kind. But we do not just cooperate within our own species," Cole replied. "We learn to cooperate with every species on our planet. When humans first evolved, we were not the fastest, strongest, or most dangerous creatures on Earth. We survived because we learned to make allies instead of enemies." Dr. Beck's analytical mind processed this revelation with growing understanding. "You formed partnerships with other species not because you could dominate them, but because you needed their help to survive." "Exactly," Cole confirmed. "Dogs helped us hunt and protected our families. Horses carried us across distances we could never travel alone. Dolphins guided our ships through dangerous waters. Birds warned us of approaching storms and enemies. Every species we partnered with made us stronger." Admiral Crix pulsed through colors of reluctant comprehension. "Your strength comes not from technology or individual capability, but from interspecies cooperation that spans your entire evolutionary history. For millions of years," Cole continued, "Earth has been teaching us that diversity creates strength and cooperation creates survival. Every challenge our planet faced, we faced together with our animal partners. When ice ages came, we survived together. When predators threatened us, we defended each other. When diseases spread, we healed together. The implications of this hit the Alien Council like a physical blow. They had spent thousands of years conquering individual species that fought alone. They had never encountered a planet where different species had learned to function as a unified defense system. Captain Yara finally understood why every alien tactic had failed against human forces. You are not fighting as humans supported by trained animals. You are fighting as Earth itself defending against invasion. Every species on our planet learned the same lesson," Cole said. "Alone, we are vulnerable. Together, We are unstoppable. You thought you were conquering a primitive human civilization, but you were actually attacking a planetary alliance that has been preparing for threats like you for millions of years. Max barked once, a sound that seemed to echo through the alien ship's communication systems. Moments later, every human vessel in the fleet received a signal that the mission was complete. The message had been delivered not through electronic systems that aliens could intercept, but through the biological communication network that connected all Earth species. Commander Vex realized that his entire fleet was surrounded by opponents he could not defeat because he could not understand them. "What do you want from us?" he asked quietly. "We want you to leave our space and never return," Cole replied. "Earth is not interested in galactic conquest or domination. We only want to be left alone to continue growing and learning together. And if we refuse?" Cole smiled, an expression that somehow seemed both peaceful and threatening. "Then you will learn why no force in Earth's history has ever succeeded in conquering our planet. You will face not just human resistance, but the combined opposition of every species that calls Earth home." The Alien Council exchanged glances of defeat and understanding. They had superior technology, advanced weapons, and overwhelming firepower, but they lacked the one thing that made Earth unconquerable: the ability to unite different species in common cause. "Withdraw all forces," Commander Vex ordered reluctantly. "Set course for the galactic rim. We will not return to this system." As the alien fleet retreated into deep space, their final transmission to Galactic Command contained a new classification that would change how the galaxy viewed Earth forever. Species designation: human and planetary allies. Threat level: extreme. Recommendation: avoid all contact. The war had ended not because Earth possessed superior weapons or technology, but because humanity had learned the greatest lesson in the universe: that strength comes not from standing alone, but from standing together with all who call your world home.